because I think one way or the other, it either puts me in a space to where, all right, let's look to next year. We want to get through the year, and we want to
not after game 6, man.
well, what I'm not gonna do is move the goalpost or shy away from what we all thought or what we all said, because I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna become what I hate.
Yeah.
I said, and everyone around this program said, if you don't make it to the playoffs, this season is a failure.
Hey, see y'all from Texas.
What's going on, everybody? Good to see you. Back another episode of Just Talking Ball. And as always, I got the birthday boy, my co-host, Eric Foster, in the building. What's up? Happy birthday, man.
I appreciate it. I hope for a better gift on Saturday.
And with it being your birthday, hey, we're going to step right into it. Forget the pleasantries. What are you mad about?
I've got two things. I think one, the overreaction, and I think you see both. Like you see a lot of underreaction and overreaction to Texas not playing well, dropping from 9 to 28th. That's an overreaction. There aren't 27 teams in the country better than Texas today.
He's talking to the voters out there. He's talking to the AP.
Anybody with eyes and a brain probably knows that. And I think, again, I don't subscribe to moral victories, and Florida's a good team and they got scholarship athletes in their own right, and they were dealing with some injuries and they were healthier than they've been in a long time. None of that matters.
Shout out to Josh Pate.
There you go. None of that. Hey, when you're right, you're right. And
I hate that dude. I love you hate that he's right though.
And when you're wrong about, so I guess three things I'm mad about, because I should have came on here with a humble pie so I could have ate it, because I was way wrong. Right. I guess I was right in theory and somebody getting whooped on. I just had it in the reverse. And you gotta take the lump, man.
I'm leaving with something. I was right.
You gotta take the lump. And the last thing I'm mad about is, I get it. This, internet is a business and you need clicks and you need eyeballs. But I think overwhelmingly we've seen the college football community condemn this New York Times article asking if Arch is the biggest flop in college football history.
I will agree with that. That is terrible.
The timing was bad, because after a game where this kid left his absolute soul on the field, and we couldn't, they couldn't keep him upright. Texas was the most pressured team in the country. Florida was the most effective team in the country, rushing for. Like, it was a nightmare across that offensive line for 1,000 different reasons. And when you go back and rewatch it, just makes you more frustrated and more upset, because, it wasn't on him. There have been plenty of times Ohio State was on him. Yeah. He didn't play well in the second game either. So there are plenty of times to criticize the kid, and I don't think anybody is immune to it. But I think there's a difference in student athletes that actively look for and seek the spotlight and don't perform. Diego Pavia, for one. Because that's a thing, right? And if you put yourself there, and you seek that out, you get the inverse. Yeah. But a kid who, is really trying to put his head down and just do team first, and at every opportunity where he has a chance to hype himself, he hypes someone else. Whenever he has an opportunity for it to be about him, it's about the team. So to kind of build this kid up without this kid even asking for it, just so that you could tear him down in a major way, it seems weird to me. Yeah. It's just giving weirdo activity. That's all.
And that's glad, and I'm glad to hear it from you. Because I respect you as a Texas fan. Knowledge what you said Texas. You didn't say, oh, Arch Manning is the reason that we're not we're not in the rankings. We're not doing.
And I'll say it now. Even if Texas rights the ship, it won't be solely because him. Will he have improved? Had to have, right? Yeah. But it won't be because of that. It'll be because the offensive line improved. It'll be because we didn't give up. What they have, 180 something rushing yards, something like that. I didn't even want to go look at the numbers because it was stressing me out.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Exactly. And he's on the list, but it's at a minimum, at a maximum, he's at D. Right. I got three. We have three other critical things that we've got to get right before he's the problem.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I thought you handled it well. We didn't talk. We talked before the game, like right at the beginning of the game, and you talked about. We said I didn't have this on my bingo card going down to Gainesville and getting embarrassed.
Did not. I didn't even. And I as we were texting, back and forth, and I was texting. The Southern Longhorn group chat that I have, I think we were all, I think you can not stomach a loss because, you're going to be frustrated when your team loses, when you're as invested as most of us are. I think you're going to be frustrated regardless, but it's a lot less frustrating when it's for a predictable reason, something you saw coming, like, hey, we probably won't be very good here. And if they exploit that, it'll jump up on us. We didn't even, when we always talk about like kind of the three things that we need to do and what are the three things that could go wrong. I went back and looked. I'm talking 11 people, right? 11 people submitted 33 things they thought could go wrong. Texas or Florida getting home with 4 down linemen and no blitz was not on anyone's list. Florida being able to absolutely gut punch us over and over again with the run wasn't on anybody's list. We thought, the offensive line could be an issue in the sense that we may not get no push at the line of scrimmage for us to run the ball. We thought, Florida may be able to blitz and do some exotic things, what we fully expect from Oklahoma coming up on Saturday. But no, just being able to 3 and 4 guys putting their hand in the dirt. I said, hell, one of the offensive linemen from Texas for Pro Football Focus, he got a 0.0. I didn't even know a 0 was a possible grade.
Jesus, that wasn't the left tackle, was it?
One of them, because they started trying to move some pieces around. But I said a 0. That means you got whipped on every play. You were in the game. Dude. How's that even? You didn't win one block. I think you were in the game for 5 or 8 snaps. One of them. It was less than 10, but that means you were on the field 8 snaps and you got whipped every time. I never even knew that was possible.
That's crazy, bro. Yeah, you sound like me. But I'm gonna switch. Well, I jokingly laughed. We talked last week. We got dinged for using too much of the NFL's content last year. So somebody's paying attention. So I appreciate that. But what I will say, what I'm mad about, the same clown behavior, and this running back for the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals had like a sequence of like bad plays. I think it was they snapped it to Kyler Murray when he wasn't ready, and people joked about he got a concussion off of that hard snap. Then it was a interception or a fumble that turned into a Titans touchdown or something like that return. And then this right here, this running back dropping the ball before the Deshaun, what we call it, the Deshaun Jackson. Is that what we want to call it? But it's just, and he was, obviously upset with himself, obviously embarrassed, obviously, disappointed. But then later on in the week, then it goes to with his head coach really getting on him. And, I thought it was a justifiable butt chewing, but then it was an issue of maybe him putting his hands on him, but, hitting him across his chest or whatever. I didn't think it was that, but the internet is the internet, and everybody wants to have their own stance, and they want to, like, say, do it for clicks and blow it up and say what they wouldn't. Oh, I wouldn't have took that. I mean, everybody had their opinion about it, but I
can't think of a scenario. I really can't. Because I was watching, and it was weird. Most of the time, sports media, especially with the football athletes, the Shannon Sharps, the Cam Newtons, they normally all have. I've been kind of watching James Harrison and Joe Hayden have a podcast.
Well, he had an opinion about it.
They I saw a mixed bag of opinions, which is rare. Most athletes tend to have that same kind of thought process, but I think of all of them, I probably resonate with James Harrison because I can't think of a scenario where a grown man gets to hit me twice. I really don't, and I've made $1 million mistakes, you know, as an employee, as a leader, and there has to be a level of professionalism in a pro sport. You can fuss at me, you can find me, you can rip me, you can criticize me in the media. All of those things are fair. The minute you put your hand on me, because you take it the next step, oh, well, he was frustrated and that's just what he does. Okay, so then we got to make sure we play that all the way through, because we have to make sure we give players that same latitude now when they're frustrated and they blow up at a head coach. Or if he were to have responded in that situation. Because in most worlds, there are very few head coaches. I probably Mike Tomlin, he's probably the only head coach I'd bet on in a one-on-one versus players. Every other head coach is probably
D'Amico Ryan,
Aaron Glenn, maybe. But most of the time that player is gonna kick his ass. So I felt like, and I watched it, and I think it's one of those things, like you say, all he got to say is chastise him. He hit him in the chest. Like, not seeing it is one thing. You kind of like, all right, I get it, it's football. But then when you see it,
that's
like, all right, you hit him, and then he hooked him and hit him again. I'm not with it.
And it's so crazy, man, because like I say, if you say it out loud, oh no, but and I'm not defending either side of it, but like levels, like old school, like I'll start at high school. Like high school, sometimes your coach kind of grab you by the jersey, grab you by the face mask.
By the face mask. Like, okay, I can
some of that, and some of that, everything's never criticism like that. I think it's all about the relationship. Like now, when it looks bad, and if he's like rearing up and he's punching us, one thing, but when if that's always been his, like, kind of put his hand on your shoulder, whether it's good praise, bad, criticism, whatever, So like I say, I was mad at him doing that, and being a coach, I obviously have never hit a kid, but like, or hit a grown man or whatever, but like I can imagine frustration, and that's not giving him a pass, but like just the fact that I'm not giving that running back a pass for what he did, like
no, not at all, and I think that's probably where the head coach is like, I woke up the next day and feel great about it, because now it's no longer about what I was reacting to, which is really what we got to coach to get better from and get that behavior out of there. That's one thing, but we ain't even talking about that no more. We're talking about my behavior, and I think coaching is like officiating, where in most cases, unless you're Phil Jackson or somebody, in most cases as a coach or as an official, you don't want to be the story. You don't want to be the story. And when you're the story, it's almost always bad. Almost always.
And it's crazy because the game, not just football, but just competitive sports, the emotion, the heat of the moment, if you will. It's not now. Like we joked about the interview, with old Ben Johnson. So I mean, it's the world we live in. Gotcha. I see. Gotcha. And like I say, one thing to hear about it, you could be in Austin and you heard, I heard this coach in Michigan knocked the hell out this kid, and kind of like, oh, that's messed up, and that's kind of the end of the story. But now when you like look, then it grows legs, and it's just it's so much. And I'm not sitting here condoning anybody getting hit. I'm just saying that's just the example I'm giving. But nevertheless, that's what we're mad about. I don't want to dwell on that, because finally, after 2 weeks, we can finally raise the flag, and we can let it ride, and we're gonna let it ride too, because it was a well-deserved win by my boys. You hear that? You hear that, Rock Chalk? I'm gonna let it, and I'm gonna play it a little longer, because
brother,
we don't get to play Texas Fight this week, so we got a little more time for it. But nevertheless, Kansas goes down to Orlando, the bounce house, if you will, to play, I thought a very athletic and explosive Central Florida team. Central Florida jumped out on them, 14-0, and it had like 3 or 4 different bands of rain throughout the game. It rained before the game, so I mean, and obviously living in Florida, they're used to that, and those guys, know how to run that. But our guys, we looked sluggish at time, but I mean, they jumped out on us and went up 14-0, and I kind of, it kind of had that feeling in your gut, like, oh God, here we go again. We go into a bye week, we'll come off the bye week, off a loss, as like, golly, like, now we're gonna let Cincinnati beat us twice, and just like the whole, Missouri thing, but so I thought the kids played well. We talked about the numbers. If JD6 had a night like he did against Cincinnati, they should win. And I didn't know much about Central Florida. They're kind of that weird, not only this weird team, but just that unknown team in the Big 12. I mean, the Central Floridas, the BYUs, even though BYU always makes noise, because I always play those late night games where everybody kind of laying in the bed, and just watching those late games on the West Coast. Arizona, Arizona State came in and made some noise, last year, so that they've got a little more notoriety. But like Arizona, BYU, and Central Florida are kind of those teams that are a little still kind of weird to me, if you will. But like I say, they jumped up on us, and at one time it was almost like 20-7, 20-7, but guys regroup. I'm not gonna go into it. I'll give you some stats, and the team stats is what's good about it. But once again, Kansas has 356 yards of total offense, but it's compared to 375 yards of total offense for Central Florida. I'm going to get into why that's important in near future. But 121 rushing, nothing great, nothing to like write home about, nothing that I would say, oh man, we played great. But another game for JD6 with no interceptions. So that's 2 back-to-back games, and I hope it continues to build momentum for him. Leading rusher was LaShawn Williams, only had 58 yards. So nothing great about it, but the fact that they found a way to win in the end, and that's what I was good. Late in the game when Central Florida had the ball, I was like, oh my God. But we needed to be in a situation where the defense had to prove and show that they could get a stop to seal the game, and that's what we did, and came back in and ran the best play in college football or in football period, which is victory, and came away with a 27-20 victory. So, and then this is the thing, man, you think about this, and I don't want to spill over to, the next preview, but so we're 4-2 overall, which is fine. 2-1 in Big 12 play, which I really think we should be 3-0. But wow, like you said, well, the Cincinnati loss doesn't look so bad now because Cincinnati, I mean, got physical and I don't want to say throttle, but they, like you say, the score didn't really show what the game looked like as far as Cincinnati beating on Iowa State. So like, wow, and for our conference, the Big 12 is still wide open. But what's funny enough, as that door closes for Orlando, we go back on the road to West Texas, to Lubbock, to play arguably the best team in the Big 12 right now, and so you're coming into a deal, and Lubbock, Tortilla City. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just gonna read. What I'm gonna read off is this is bad, and I take the good with the bad, but this is bad. Kansas all-time record with Texas Tech is 3-23. I did not know it was that bad.
Lord,
I did not know it was that bad, but that's got nothing to do with this weekend. Okay, so Kansas comes into Lubbock. They're a 13.5-point dog, which is expected.
That's a lot.
You like it. I don't care. I think we've proven something. And this is the thing. So I was watching, and you talked about the Pro Football Focus, those guys, one of the guys talking about, and I already knew that, but it's like Kansas being 4-2, but their 2 losses are to 2 teams that are arguably they're in the top 25 or like they're top 15 in Pro Football Focus rankings, if you will. Okay. Missouri, on the road, and this and that, and then Cincinnati, who was climbing because of the big upset they just had. So the 2, like you say, it lends to add on what you said about Cincinnati, but not only Cincinnati, but Missouri as well. So if it stopped today, you say, okay, what are your losses? Those 2 losses aren't bad at all. Now, this is where it's right now. Right now.
We don't know yet.
Yeah. Because I'm saying if it all ended right now.
Missouri's got some things coming up, right? They got Alabama coming to town this weekend. All their schedule's backloaded. Now, if probably they beat Alabama, and we're talking about Missouri, probably top 10 team. So potentially not bad. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, not right. I mean, those two losses. So and like I say, Tech is ranked number 9 in the nation. Highest ranked Big 12 team. Coming in with the number 1 rated offense in the Big 12 and the number 2 rated defense in the Big 12. Now, I'll give you a couple of things. So, Baron Morton, who's feel like he's been there forever. 1,400 yards, 12 tutties, 3 interceptions. They have 2 running backs who combined for 600 yards and 10 touchdowns. So they're somewhat equal, but I don't know. They've been, what I've watched out of Texas Tech, they've been able to win by doing what they needed to do. If they play a team that's like Utah or somebody else that was pretty good in the secondary, then they relied on their running game. Now I say that, so check this out. So Cameron Dickey, Jacoby Williams. Cameron Dickey, 4.6 yards a carry. Jacoby Williams, 5.3 yards a carry. They combined for 10 touchdowns. So Kansas, as a run defense, and their 4 wins, their run grade was 87, almost 88%. So that's B+, holding them to 4.2. On their 2 losses, Cincinnati and Missouri, their run grade was 61. So a D or F, depending on wherever you're from. 6.3 yards a carry. So with that being said, I like for them to at least be somewhere in the middle, where if we're like at 80, 82, that means we're a little bit under 5. Still, if you get 4 yards a carry on the ground, that's still a successful play. But, Kansas, on the flip side, has the 15th most explosive offense in college football right now. So I don't know, but I felt that. So Baron Morton, Dickey, Williams, Caleb Douglas, Terrence Carter, who's a Killeen kid, shout out, Killeen, Texas, Harker Heights graduate, and Coy Aiken. Those 3 receivers, they're like right balanced, like 600 yards, 400 or 500 yards. There's nobody that really stands out to say this is a dominant guy, but Terrence Carter has definitely emerged. He's a Louisiana Lafayette transfer. We all know the story about Texas Tech's roster. It's funny enough that their roster is about 28 million. Yeah. Second in the nation, second to University of Texas, who is ready. That's what I read. 35 to 40 million this year. 25 and 25 in 25. I
told you that number was a lie. That's a lot. Like that's just not. That's it's off by a significant number. But
yeah, well, that's what the word is. But you know what? I'll take your word. But so what I think about this game and what I worry is one thing. Yeah, 13.5 point underdog. You said that's a lot. That's fine. So that tells us we've got nothing to lose. Now that's not saying go be careless, because I think we're all a good football team, but you have to continue to prove it. And that sounds cliche, but I mean, knowing what I know about Kansas, I'm going to talk about the defense. The defense had somewhat of an answer. They showed they can stop teams when it's time to, because that was the nemesis, the last loss against Cincinnati. My concern is that Tech could possibly wear us down, defensively, and then that's when the bottom might fall out, because then I wouldn't want us on offense to feel like we got to just take a bunch of risks, try to keep pace, stay in the game. Tech is good. Their secondary last year was the 4th worst in the nation. This year, they've graded out in the secondary at 93%.
You go spend some money and get some good players.
Well, no doubt. Yeah.
You don't have a good product on the field.
Yeah, well, yeah, you better. So, second best defense, like I said, in the Big 12. So, I mean, I think, on defense, we got to just be able to hold up. I think hopefully Kamara continues to heal and gets ready. Dean Miller shows up. Our guys on the front, D-line has got to get pressure. Talking about pressure, I just been reading so much about this guy. I don't know why I want this game so bad. This is a game that could be a season changer for, I think, at least for Kansas. It really makes a statement to say, okay, we're not dead in the water. Like I say, if Cincinnati continues to do what they do, we do. So I think the average drop back time, and you may notice, they like to have 3.3 seconds, 3.4 seconds. Well, Tech has only been giving up about 2.9. 2.9 per snap, I think, if I'm right about that. So a guy named David Bailey is 3rd in pass rush hurries. He's graded out at 90%. So we got to be able to protect the quarterback. You know, if we're only averaging 2.9 on 3.0 to 3.0, and the average is 3.3, and you got a D line that's grading out with 93%. I'm talking straight numbers here, baby. I mean, and that's what it's about. You know, I mean, this is not a rival. This is a conference game, but it's an important conference game. So, you know, I don't know, man. I think, you know, Tech is hot. I think you could possibly run into the situation of being overlooked. I love Coach McGuire. Coach McGuire is a Texas high school guy, and he actually said this in an interview. He said he thought Kansas should be 6-0. You know, they were dominating Missouri at Missouri. See, Eric, I told you. You know, don't try to hate like we wasn't handling Missouri. Really good football team. The receiver, Henderson, #1. Yeah. So I mean, we're getting noticed, but I don't want it to be in a sense of.
Let's also remember
you say the right things. Yeah, you say the right things.
It's a coach's job, not only to say the right things, but you set the stage so that if we come out and win or dominate Kansas, hey, I want respect for it, because Kansas is a really good team and we blew them out, right? Or we won the game. And you also set the stage. Hey, I told you guys coming in, Kansas was a good team. Yeah. So it's not, we didn't play well, and so it doesn't surprise me that this was the result, because they're a good team. So
it's a low key TY. It's a low key.
To see what he says over a cigar and an old fashioned.
Yeah. Well, I know it was a lot, but I mean, to summarize it, we've got to protect the quarterback and give him time to throw it. We've got to probably be able to run the ball, because their secondary is very good. We've got to be able to be more physical up front and assert dominance. I think our running backs do a good job. I don't know if Highshaw will be back. I know he missed the last 2 games and he's been banged up, man. But the other running backs have stepped up. I think I don't want to see – I say this all the time, but I don't want to see JD6 take a lot of unnecessary hits. I don't want him to get rushed and do a Dak Prescott and hold on to the ball a little longer than what he should. But, I mean, I know he's trying to make plays, and that's not shade. That's just him trying to make plays, but also –
he's trying to have to use his feet. Quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, he needs to. Yeah, I know. But that's part of the threat, and that's why Kansas is where they are, without a doubt. But on the defensive end, man, I think we got to be able to pressure the quarterback. Like I say, they're on fire right now, man. It's not a formula. They're 5-0, 6-0. They're undefeated, so it's not like anybody's figured out how to stop them. It's in Lubbock. It's a night game, 6:30 kickoff on Fox. So we'll see. 34-31. Kansas. In this type of game, I'm not saying, oh, you take a shot or you take a risk to say, oh, we get a turnover, but I'm just saying I've got to pay respect to Tech as well. You know what I'm saying? But you're gonna have to be able to throw in some tight windows. You have to be able to beat some man coverage. And what I'm saying is they're grading out at 93% in the secondary, so it's not gonna be easy. So, I don't know. We'll see. Might have to go for it on some 4th downs. That might take away some fun, but I don't know. I could sound crazy. I could be Josh Payton, but I'm a ride with him.
What's the over? I think the over under was in the 40s, wasn't it?
Let me see.
40 something. It was like 49 and a half.
59 and a half.
59 and a half. So it moved.
Yeah, 60. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So you're close.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm just a guy who likes to coach and talk ball. I don't know nothing about
it. Hey man. I'll give it to you.
But
I
never.
Think 34. I have no opinion on whether you get. Well, I actually do, because I believe you can win. Should you, based on the talent level? Probably not. But can you? Certainly. Anytime you got a guy like JD6 in back, you can do all through him. All things are possible.
But like I say, and I think for us to win, that type of thing has to happen. Like you say, oh, they came out the game when they punted once. It's going to be something that's going to.
Well, and now that I'm thinking about the number, what'd you tell me? 3-22.
Yeah, 3-23.
Has anybody on this Kansas team beat Texas Tech?
I think not last year, 23 team when we went to the. Well, it beat JD6. He beat only one.
Yeah. Okay.
He beat only one.
I'm asking because that matters.
Yeah.
I think the psychology of ball. Unless you've got a team made up of transfers that ain't never been here either way.
And that's starting to become the trend anyway.
Right. But if you got what Kansas has, they've got some good pieces, but they haven't had like total turnover.
Exactly.
So I think you've got some guys that are like, this is a mental hurdle in addition to the physical hurdle.
Yeah, but like you say, starting running back LaShawn Williams, he's an Iowa transfer. Our receiver, he's an Alabama transfer. So like there are some new faces, you know. So like say it doesn't matter as much. You talking about coming from the Big Ten, come from the SEC, so that's really not an issue compared to the way it used to be. So you never know. The stars align. You know, we'll see. But you know, enough about the guys that won this week. Let's talk about the guys that didn't win. You kind of previewed the Florida. You alluded to it and what you're mad about. I don't know if you want to talk about it a little more, but tell me what your thoughts were.
No, I honestly, I spent a large part of the game in awe, because we've done things we haven't done in 3 or 4 years. I literally cannot think offhand the last time I saw a team manhandle us at the line of scrimmage like that. Even, and this is, you know, having played games against Bama, Georgia, you know, the likes of what's in the SEC, Texas A&M, right? Teams that have historically had really good guys up front. So I spent a lot of the game in awe just of our inability to do any of the things that had just become habits. And involuntary, you know, motions for us, stopping the run, being able to get teams off the field on third down. Texas was top 3 in third down conversion percentage defensively. They went 50%, 7 for 14. You gave up 160 yards on the ground. You gave up 450 yards of total offense. You're not going to beat anybody like that. Let alone a Power 4 team. You know, you're not going to beat anybody like that. So our inability to do that on defense, our inability for the offensive line to just, you know, have a pulse. Like I said, I spent a lot of the game just in awe of the things that we weren't able to do. Now, on the flip side of that, you got to give Florida credit. Yeah. They've been hurt. Their wide receiver, he's an NFL talent, and this was his first game all year, right? So, shout out to them. Somebody was telling me, you know, he's like, he was telling me, it was him telling me why he felt so much better about playing Oklahoma than he did about playing Florida. The weather, the narrative coming in, what Florida's playing for, because it is no secret that Billy Napier's playing for his job, and that. So I think
they're responding.
And I think they responded, and I think they were pressing, and I think they did things in all the right way. And I'm a big believer in momentum and what I call football fate. And because I do truly believe sometimes some games are written in the stars. And I think I started to kind of maybe feel it in my gut, you know, first drive, we force a fumble and the ball rolls right back to the dude that fumbled it. You know what I mean? He did a full 360 and roll, and the ball's right at his feet. The shot play we had where the tight end wide open, all he had to do was get it within, you know, 3 yards of him either way.
Well, that's the double pass.
The double pass to Raimondo. All he had to do was just be semi-close.
Well, I know.
Thinking about all the time, you know, there were 3 other occasions that Arch had somebody breaking open in the middle of the field that is a walk-in touchdown, but we can't keep them upright. We can't give them the time on the offensive line when they're rushing 4. Now, when they're blitzing and all that, like, that's just football. I get that. But I watched, you know, watching some of the replays and some of the way these guys got beat, it was elementary. And I think I would imagine, even if you probably talked to Florida's defense coordinator and D-line coach, they probably didn't have that in their bingo card that it would be so easy.
Yeah.
That I know they had blitzes they never called. I know they had blitzes they thought, you know, okay, when we get in trouble, we need some momentum. We're going to do this or do that. I think they blitzed. They rushed 4 60% of the time. That I do know. They rushed 3 another 10%. So what's that leave? 30%? I don't think they blitzed that much. Right. So and that doesn't bode well. So you kind of got to watch that. You take it for what it was. And you look ahead, and I think, you know, 3 of the things this game historically, funny enough, the parallel for where Texas is the game 4 years ago now, where Spencer Rattler had been playing poorly, and I think they had lost.
Yeah,
they weren't undefeated. I think they had lost a game or two coming in.
But nobody expected. Yeah, I know where you're going.
And we ran Spencer Rattler out of the game. Caleb Williams came in and was magical.
Yeah.
And they went on to win that game. Changed their whole season. They ended up becoming a playoff team.
And they were growing because Kansas had them on the ropes, and on a fourth down,
Caleb
takes the ball away from So like
the timeout that they shouldn't have got. I remember that.
Yeah.
So that season, that exact season, the Red River rivalry changed that season for that Oklahoma team. So, all of as far as horribly as we've played, for all the things that have gone wrong, every single thing you want to accomplish in this season is still on the table.
Yeah, no doubt.
You've got 3 top 5 matchups left, or top 10 matchups left. Some of them will end up being top 5, right? When we have to travel to Athens, they'll probably be in the top 5. When A&M comes to Austin, if they're undefeated, they'll be in the top 3 for sure, right? So you have an opportunity to do all. If you win out, you go to Atlanta. The loser of the SEC championship game is a playoff team. I can't imagine, because Texas would have to win out to get there, in my opinion. So I can't imagine that, even with that being a third loss, I can't imagine that a top 10 Texas team loses an SEC championship game and doesn't get there. So saying all that to say, one foot in front of the other, left foot, right foot, breathe, repeat. I've got, again, and I really think it's simple. I think we've only got to do 3 things, and the 3 things are simple. Within those 3 things, maybe lies a little bit of complexity, but you've got to keep Arch upright. You can't turn the ball over, and you can't allow one of the worst rushing offenses in the country to get off on you. So if you do those 3 things, I don't see a way, even if Mateer plays, because I would have to see it. A kid coming out 2 weeks off of hand surgery on his throwing hand, just coming out wheeling and dealing. I think you play the threat of him playing, and you maybe, even if he's, his 60% is probably better. His 60% is probably better than Hawkins' 100%. So even if he's 60%,
because he can run,
Yeah. So you probably roll him out there. You don't, can we get home? Can we get some pressure? I was in awe at our inability. We had what was supposed to be the best 3 defensive ends in all of college football, in Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, and Colin Simmons coming in. And we just haven't figured out a way to.
Is he hurt?
No, that's right.
Wow.
Now, he did assert himself in Florida quickly, because I think for a while, Florida was avoiding him, and they were going to the opposite side. So once Texas kind of shored that up in the second half, they started trying to go Colin Simmons' way, and he asserted himself. I think he had 3 straight tackle for losses on one drive, because they kept handing the ball.
Much, but I hadn't heard it. When they know you're coming, that's
right. And Texas still couldn't get any momentum off of that. So, but can we find a way against a decent O-line? They're not great. They're not mauling you. That's why they can't run the ball.
Yeah.
So they're not maulers, but so far, again, they've been able to keep these kids upright. So can we keep our guy upright? Can we get their guy on the ground? I think it becomes just that simple. I do think, again, it becomes a mental hurdle, because you're looking at this Oklahoma team, coaching staff. You're looking at guys that they've lost 3 out of the last 4 to Texas. So kind of becomes a thing. I don't know. You just gotta roll that. I'm more concerned about this game than I've been in 4 years.
I was about to ask. So it's
easily.
It's a wash spread wise, but the people.
No, the line moved, so it was
like 1.5.
It was Texas 5.5.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks ago.
Oh, well now
it's Oklahoma minus 1.5.
Yes. Yes.
So the line has moved, and that's concerning. I mentioned that. I was telling my friends, I mentioned that with the Florida game. I was like, man, that line keep ticking down. That means somebody somewhere knows something.
Yeah.
And they're seeing some things that don't look so hot. So for the line to move, and again, if the narrative out there is correct, number 6 team versus the number 28 team or the unranked team should be favored. So yeah, okay, 1.5. But I think you find out who you are. I think you find out, like Vic Schaefer, women's basketball coach, says, you find out what somebody's got between their breastplate. Yeah. And what kind of heart you got, what kind of heart this team has. So I'm excited in that sense to see, because I think one way or the other, it either puts me in a space to where, all right, let's look to next year. We want to get through the year, and we want to
not after game 6, man.
Well, what I'm not gonna do is move the goalpost or shy away from what we all thought or what we all said, because I hate when people do that. Yeah. So I'm not gonna become what I hate. Yeah. I said, and everyone around this program said, if you don't make it to the playoffs, this season is a failure. And that still stands. So if Texas doesn't accomplish that, that's what I mean, right? Am I going to quit going to the games? No. Am I going to quit watching and rooting? No. But it already frames for me, okay, season's not going to go how we want it to go. It's a failure. Yeah. Can we start? And I also think for the coaching staff, it starts to, because now if you're not in the playoffs, right? And I do think that is the beauty of the college sports, because I think the minute that you are not in a playoff hunt anymore, or if you're certain teams have goals, we want to get to a bowl game, we want to get to a New Year's Six game. So if that's your goal, then you're still going to keep playing and operating in the normal space. But if you're a Texas team and playoffs is your goal, and you say, okay, I know we're not going to get there. One, I'm not burning any unnecessary red shirts. Yeah, I'm moving to a developmental end of my year. Yeah. And can I get guys ready so that I know now as a staff and as a program, so that we know what we got to go get January 15th when that portal opens up. Yeah. And so I think it's help that it will be helpful. The result on Saturday will be helpful, because either it gets us back on track and puts us back toward that path of where we think we can be. And I greatly can't wait, for some of these folks who, have just really jumped off a cliff here to reel that back in. Yeah. Or like I said, start to figure out what we got and look to the next season.
Well,
and that also makes you handle, and I think you start to handle Arch with care if that's the case. I'm not calling no more design quarterback runs.
Well, but he's got to. Then I think that's a time where he's got to just feel it all. He's got to. It's like I say, it's not really like let's do stuff to make him gain confidence, successful. He's got to do everything. He's got to feel the bad with the good. Now, if it's that situation, now we got to just roll it out and see, what your medal is. Yep. Let's see what you're made of. Well, let's say,
and you get to go play, and now you finally get, because at Texas you don't get the luxury of playing carefree. You've always got all these expectations. You've got all these things you're supposed to do. You've got this room for error. You've got, coming in, Texas knew, as long as they weren't conference games, Texas knew you had an opportunity to drop the Ohio State game, drop a conference game, and still have none of your goals be affected, right?
Yeah.
Now that error is gone. That room is gone. So now that we're just going to go out there and cut it loose, because that's literally all you can do at this moment, what is the end result? Against a very game and a very good Oklahoma defense, Florida had, I think, 2 sacks coming into last Saturday. They got 6 on Saturday. Oklahoma leads the nation in sacks. So that is going to tell me, I hate to oversimplify it, what can be a complicated game, but sometimes it is just that simple. I think if you gave me that number right now, I could tell you who won.
Yeah.
If you could give me the sack
right.
numbers, I could tell you who won. Because if I look and I see that Oklahoma has 6+ sacks or 2+ turnovers, we lost. Yeah. I don't, we're not there where you can overcome that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because generally a sack kills a drive. I don't care where you are.
Oh yeah.
How often, does a sack not kill a drive? It's rare.
I think it's like 60. Is it 60%? Like if it's a drive where the sack is in there, 60% of the time you punting something,
right?
Something like that.
A larger part of the time that you're not punting is probably because you're in a desperation situation in the game, in the clock, or you're 4th and short.
Exactly.
Right. But no, I'm excited because, like I said, the game very much will always mean something, even if we were 0-4 coming. Whatever. The game means what it means.
It needs no build up. Yeah, it needs no build up.
Yeah.
So where will you be watching it? Where will you be?
That's a game time decision. I'm not gonna want to sit in the sun, so I think I'm gonna get rid of the tickets.
Oh man.
And we'll go. I'll go somewhere and we'll watch as a really big group, so we can celebrate or commiserate together.
Texas Losers Lounge on deck.
I'll never forgive that guy for that, man.
That was the best line, man. Oh man, that's so funny.
But yeah, so it'll be that, and if and I, God forbid, I think one time we normally stay through Monday, and I think one time we got beat so bad I came home. I came home Saturday. So I hope that ain't the case, but it ain't off the table.
Hopefully that'll be a good birthday ending for you. So ESPN analysis predicted 60-40 in favor of Texas. So I mean that tells you though how people still feel about the state of the program.
Well, that's numbers. That I think that ESPN predictor thing, I think that's analytics.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. 60-40. That's you got to feel
75-35 last week. It's this game in particular. Now, am I would I prefer to be the hunter or the hunted? All things equal, make me the hunter.
Yeah.
Make this team the hunter.
Because you know what it is.
You know what it is.
We're gonna go do what we do.
Yeah, we've thrived in that role.
Yeah.
So can we get back to that? And like I said, I think if you win this game, it can truly be a springboard for the rest of your season. And if you lose, Cancun on 3.
We'll find out on Saturday. First time the Texas Longhorns hadn't been ranked since 2022. That's not too long. So I mean that's
outrageous. I'll button that up again, but I think dropping from 9 to
that is crazy. That is crazy though. That is interesting.
That was voters buying into a narrative because nothing about those 2 losses. Because at the end of the day, it was an 8-point loss on the road to an SEC team.
Yes, because you know what? By no means was y'all's loss as bad as Penn State's loss was.
And even Penn State going from 7
they're out of
to
it. Yeah, they're out of it
27.
Too. Yeah.
But still, I mean, well, yes, they are now because that loss is gonna bury them. But they play Ohio State. Yeah. You never know. Crazier things have happened.
No doubt.
But I'm just excited to see when backed against the wall, what that man. We need some dogs. We don't need no cats. So we get to figure out who we are.
And you'll find out before me. So yeah, I don't know. You give me a phone call. 2:30 kickoff, Texas-Oklahoma game.
What I do know is at the end of that game, regardless of the result, I am not going to be in no condition to have a conversation. I'm certain of that. I might be able to voice text and maybe the AI can correct my misspellings, but I know either I'm gonna be so happy that we won and we on the right track, or I'm gonna be so miserable that we lost.
I'll wait to hear from you then. So we're excited. Saturday's coming. And how about this? There's 2 games going on. So from here on out, what 47, 48
49
straight days, 49
straight days of college football
of
sorry.
football, just football period. Well, that's what's up. So games to watch for. We are before I go to that prediction, Red River Shootout. What's your prediction?
27-17 Texas.
I like that. I can get behind that. Because like I say, the
how do we start? Do we start like, that's what I'm like. That's the funny part about predictions. I do know, I do firmly believe that I have enough of a pulse on this team to know, because I knew right away. I told them right away. I said, hey, y'all, I told you right away. I told you early.
Yeah.
We don't have it.
Yeah.
Because some stuff is like a fluke play. Okay, hey, a guy missed a gap, guy wasn't on his assignment. Even that one of those touchdown passes where they let the OPI go, that was a fluke play. But all the rest of it, moving, just putting your hands on the dude in front of you and telling him where he going. I think when I started to see them do that, pretty consistently on their first 2 drives, I was like, oh yeah, we don't have it.
And to quote this text right here, Saturday at 3:08. That's when you talked about not getting embarrassed, and I said, "Well, it's early. Don't worry about it." And you said, "I know my team.
I know my team. I know my like you. I know." And now I'm comfortable enough to say, "Okay, what does this team have to do?
Yeah,
this team has to start fast. This team has to start with some confidence." I would even be so bold to say, if that fumble on Florida's first drive goes the other way, we probably get out of Gainesville with a 10 to 17 point victory. That's how drastic I think this team is, and when it comes to their mental fragility, right? I think if you give them success and show that they can have success, okay, boom, they can rely on that and they can always go and attack. But when they rely and were passive, I didn't think we did enough switching up. I've always told you this about me. If something ain't working, I'm gonna try. I am gonna burn every play I have ever seen, I have ever ran, because what I'm doing that we've historically been good at ain't working anyway. Yeah. So if I stick with what we've been doing, I know what the result is gonna be. So if that's not working, I'm gonna try everything, and you're gonna have to you're gonna get out of here with a 60-point win, because it's, you know what I mean. It's a loss by 8, a loss by 80. What's the difference? And when you're Texas, what's the difference?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's tough. Well, we'll see. Now, games besides your game and my game, what other games are you interested in be looking for? There's a couple.
Alabama, Missouri.
I'm going for there.
One of my really good friends. I was always indifferent towards Alabama. I think I was a Saban fan, and I recognized greatness and I had an appreciation for it. So I was always kind of indifferent towards Alabama. Now I have a friend, shout out to you, Donald, who's so miserable, makes me hate Alabama, and I am MIZZOU all the way.
Everybody, we have to pull the plug. We have to pull the plug on it.
And also, in terms of squaring, what is Missouri? So I think the next, 2 to 3 weeks, the season will really take shape for everybody, and we'll know, what was a good victory, what wasn't, what looked good. That FSU win, looked good for some people early on. Now not so good. The Michigan win for Oklahoma looked good. Those things will start to take shape. The 2 losses, right? What will Cincinnati do? What will Missouri do? Those things will start to take shape over the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
I'm looking at Big Ten's gonna be on fire. Indiana, Oregon, and Illinois and Ohio State. You
talk about one that I'm supremely confident in somebody whooping on somebody. Dan Lanning is going to embarrass
and I think
Indiana Hoosier team.
And I think the same thing for Illinois. I think Ohio State's going to dominate Illinois, but it looks good on paper right now, matchup wise, and just what's number 7 versus number 3, number 1 versus number 9 or number 11.
Right.
So you're a Dan Lanning fan. Anyway,
I like my coach to have some emotion. That's why I'm I'm a Vic Schaefer guy. I watched them in the preseason. The women's team, they played in like a FIBA Canada tournament or something, and he thought his team was getting cheated. He said I'll pull them all off the floor. I'm not going to deal with this. That's what I like. That's theatrical. I like it. That means you are invested in this thing. So Dan is invested in what Oregon got going on. So
anything I'm a part of, I'm a ride for it 100%. I'm gonna me.
You always have you always remain a little too. You have a little too much decorum for me. Well, sometimes I just passed in. We had to, get that out of your wife last year. She was a little too passive. No, I need some emotion. I need you to.
Oh, you'll get it. Hey, because when it does release, it's gonna be memorable. And so but so that's exciting. Well, that's it, man. I appreciate it. We got a lot of things happening. When was the last time that Kansas had a better record than Texas? Even though we both got 2 losses, we got 4 wins. Don't roll your eyes. Accept what it is. You want to go to the SEC, so live with it. Live with it.
I can live with it.
I hope so.
Coming off an appearance in the SEC championship game, let's see how the season ends. Let's see where we end up. What I am confident in is that we would have won the Big 12 again. And again, this team Florida would win the Big 12. And that is just something we have to acknowledge, I think, just so that the conversation. Now, mind you, Kansas has no choice in the matter of who they play. I'm playing who's in front of me. That's, that's the world of sports. But I do think to properly have this conversation, I think you have to contextualize a couple of those things to where it's the same game, but it ain't. You know what I mean? What they say, Chrysler 300 look like a Phantom until a Phantom pull up. You know what I mean? So I think as long as we, keep that in mind, I think we'll have good civil discourse.
We'll be rooting for y'all over there. Hopefully we take care of business. Ain't like we got an easy game. So we're playing the best team in the conference.
We'll sign a mutual defense pact. I'll root for Kansas and you root for Texas.
I will. Hey, no problem with that. No problem with that. Well, all right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your birthday week. I'll see you soon. So you already know what it is. But we heard the Rock Chalk. So I'm gonna say it one more time. Rock Chalk.
As always, baby, praise the Lord and hook 'em horns.
I will see y'all next time.
Hey, see y'all from Texas.